Hi everybody, it's your host Sophie here and welcome to this week's webcast of The Big D, where we talk about the big decisions affecting Australians. Today I thought we'd talk about a topic that's affecting many Australians and particularly Melburnians, and that's the housing affordability crisis. So last episode we went to the viewers to choose a couple talking points, and a topic that came up quite a lot was the Plan Melbourne planning scheme. So I thought it was a really good one, and instead of doing all of the topics within it, I thought we'd pick out a couple that might actually address housing affordability. So we've chosen action number 30, which is better apartment design standards, and action 22, which is Fishermen's Bend as Australia's largest urban renewal area. As usual, we videoed in some experts to offer some insight on the topic, and today on the panel we have a representative from FUCC, the Fighting Housing Affordability Crisis Association. We've also got Johan, who's the town planner, and we brought in Gabe, who's a residential developer from Melbourne. Thanks for coming in, guys. And like me, as always, I'll be adjudicating as the economist. So just thought I'd paint a picture of the Melbourne market at the moment so you can get an idea of the supply figures. Currently, people are speculating that Melbourne will face an oversupply of apartments in the near future. That's due to a high number of building permit approvals. And for instance, according to a report released by CBRE, Richmond had about 4,100 apartments approved in the last year, and that's a market that people already perceive as oversupplied. Now, 4,100 apartment approvals seems like a staggering figure. However, only about 550 of those were currently under construction and about 1,100 scheduled to commence in the short term. That's about 2,500, over half the amount of approvals that won't likely happen in the foreseen future. So there's not really an oversupply, and this could in fact be a factor contributing to the affordability crisis. Okay, so there you go. There's your market snapshot, and let's get started with action 30. Now, Gabe, what is included in the Better Apartment Design Standards, and what are the implications to the consumer?
Thanks for having me on today, Soph. So if they have 20% larger balconies, increased ceiling height, natural ventilation throughout the building, increased storage, landscaping, larger bedrooms, access to direct sunlight, and there's a few others. Understandably, these requirements will incur a cost, most likely be absorbed by the consumer. Given the current objections to the housing prices and the resultant housing affordability crisis, I don't think the consumers will be paying this extra cost. Currently, the median price in inner Melbourne for a one-bedroom is $375,000 and two-bedroom is $585,000. There are many experts attempting to estimate the cost of these improvements to the standards, with average increases from $62,000 to $120,000 per unit. All these changes will have a direct impact on the minimum size of each apartment as well, therefore greatly reducing the potential quantity of units within future developments. We actually employed Plus Architects to analyse our development in South Yarra, which with the current standards we developed it with 357 apartments, and under the existing standards it was analysed we would only be able to produce 213 apartments under these new standards, which was a resulting yield of 40% less.
Alright, so as the developer still has their required rate of return, will this translate to higher prices for apartments, less apartments being built, or even a decrease in developer activity altogether? As a developer, Gabe, what do you think will happen?
The cost implications of these new standards may cause developers to exit the market. The costs associated with development fluctuate on a cyclical basis, but the cost of construction continues to increase. Until construction costs are reduced and construction methods, materials and innovation techniques are improved, or the consumers are willing to pay more, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. It might have an effect on the developers' willingness to enter the market. So unfortunately, developers won't build if they can't meet their desired profit.
So the way I see it from an economic point of view is a decrease in apartments, which is supply, along with the constant increase in population demand of almost 130,000 residents in Victoria. We might in fact see a surplus demand, and this will cause housing prices to go up again. What do you think about this whole situation, Gabe?
think about this, Gabe?
From my perspective, the government's only addressing one aspect of housing affordability, and that's by increasing the supply of housing stock. With Melbourne's population increasing at over 100,000 each year, as you said, the initiative of supplying this stock is falling short. However, I think the Fisherman's Bend urban renewal project will create massive opportunity to avoid this potential supply issue with incorporating and inclusionary zoning into developments. By working collaboratively with Port Phillip Bay Housing Authority and with the funding available from the new $1 billion Social Housing Growth Fund, developers now have the unique opportunity to incorporate social housing within future residential developments in this area. Although this is not considered to be under the housing affordability umbrella, this funding will allow developers to provide new stock to the market and address the general supply issue.
Alright, Gabe, so you've just jumped a little bit ahead and you started talking about the Fisherman's Bend Urban Renewal Project, but let's just bring it back to the Better Apartment Design Standards. Now, Sean, were you happy with the amount of consultation undertaken by the government?
Good evening, Sophie, and thank you for having me on your program this evening. The short answer to your question is no. The Better Apartment engagement process should have incorporated a cost-benefit analysis and supply modelling into the consultation process. We believe if both policymakers and members of the community could ascertain exactly how the different design standards would impact apartment prices, an outcome more aligned with the affordability component of Plan Melbourne would have been achieved.
Let's take it over to Johan now. Johan, what is your planning perspectives on the Better Apartment Design Standards?
Hi, as a town planner, the Better Apartment Design Standard will have positive impact on the appearance of neighborhood with more energy efficiency, privacy, and overall livability of new apartments. As Gabe and Sophie already outlined, these changes will ultimately increase the cost of the apartment and does nothing with help with the house affordability.
Thanks for your insight on that, Johan. So I thought now we'd head to the second agenda for tonight. Gabe, you actually touched on it before. Action 22, Fisherman's Bend is Australia's largest urban renewal area. So we've got your opinion. To give the viewers on some background, Johan, what is the Fisherman's Bend Urban Renewal Project?
Fisherman's Bend is an exciting urban renewal development that located on southwest of Melbourne CBD and covered an area of approximately 250 hectares. The project will incorporate 5 distinct principles and one specially dedicated to employment. The vision we see for Fisherman's Bend is to integrate an innovative thrifting employment hub with a vibrant, sustainable residential community with a large emphasis on green public space, sustainability, and public transport linkage. The integration of housing, services, and employment will align with outcome 2 of Plan Melbourne. From a planning perspective, we fully endorse the Plan Melbourne to streamline approval process for the government and community housing sectors. It can help facilitate the supply of housing. Furthermore, new streamlined approval process will help facilitate faster delivery of social housing projects with a lower holding cost and greater planning certainty. However, this will hopefully decrease the price of houses and impact on the housing affordability.
Cheers for the intro there, Johan. Now, let's talk about the economics. So, from an economic standpoint, the Fisherman's Bend Urban Renewal Project will no doubt stimulate the industrial and commercial economy of Port Phillip Bay, as Moorabbin has the only other industrial precinct of its kind, and that's located almost 25 kilometres away from the CBD. So the city has the chance now to develop an opportunity to maximise its earning potential, and the local planning policy at Fisherman's Bend intends to transform the area to incorporate buildings that are leading in sustainable, clean practices with high-tech running systems, and it's a model that can be used for the rest of the state or even the country. So the urban renewal at Fisherman's Bend will potentially increase the aggregate demand for the land, and it'll stimulate the nation's economy and potentially increase our GDP. It's a no-brainer that the urban renewal project at Fisherman's Bend will be great for the economy of Port Phillip Bay in Australia, and it does in fact address the Plan Melbourne outcome to provide more choice for housing in locations close to jobs and services. But will it actually help housing affordability crisis? I'm not sure. So, as a spokesperson for FUC, what's your position on the Fisherman's Bend framework, Sean?
Our position is that the framework and amended strategic directions for the Fisherman's Bend Urban Renewal Project should have had a much larger emphasis on housing affordability. This is a key direction 2.3 of Plan Melbourne. The key themes that are currently in place, which incorporate sustainability strategies on publicly funded infrastructure like transport, community and public open space, align with Plan Melbourne and will ensure that it will become a world-class urban renewal project. Unfortunately, by removing the strategic direction specifically relating to the housing affordability component, the state government's dialogue on tackling housing affordability is simply just lip service.
Alright, so as you said there, Sean, the housing options close to jobs and services will only be accessible for the wealthy who can afford to buy an interest in the high value precinct. So it doesn't exactly tackle the major issues facing lower income households hoping to afford their own home. It is worth noting though that the outcome 2 in which the Fisherman's Bend is located in the strategy largely focuses on reducing urban sprawl and redeveloping areas within a 20-minute radius of the city. In doing this, the increase in supply within the density close to the CBD, in the long term, it could impact the high prices and it'll make housing more affordable closer to the CBD without impacting environment by developing in our finite supply of green land on the urban fringe. Is the government moving quick enough to incorporate the Plan Melbourne policies into the Fisherman's Bend, particularly given the amount of planning approvals already?
Great question, Sophie. We already know that wealthy land speculators have reaped tens of millions of dollars in value uplift from the rezoning changes of 2012. This could have been shared with the government to combat housing affordability under Policy 2.3.4, the capturing and sharing of value uplift from rezoning. We believe that without strong government intervention and leadership, the Fisherman's Bend Urban Renewal Project will be yet another lost opportunity to help redress the socio-economic disparities by pushing lower income households further away from primary employment service precincts. As we know, this is in direct contravention to Plan Melbourne's outcome 2.
Thanks for your input there, Sean. I think we'll leave it at this point. As I've realised, and you guys have mentioned as well, the Plan Melbourne planning scheme, it intends to help with housing affordability. However, not much is being done at this stage, and the strategies actually contradict the crisis in some ways. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. Thanks again, Sean, Johan and Gabe for appearing on the show today, and to the viewers at home, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week on The Big D. Bye.
Thank you for having me on the program tonight, Sophie. It's been a pleasure.